I'm curious what would happen if you had to use the internal microphone on your iMac as your only way of recording audio. Let's test it out. Hey guys, Robert Fix-It back here, and we are on the 2017 iMac, which is the video that I posted recently where I finally decided to just pick one computer and stick to it for various reasons, which is in that video. And I've recorded a couple of videos on the other iMacs, the 13, 14, 15, all of which had terrible microphones in my opinion. And then we went to the 17 and the mic situation is different. And I thought it would be better, but when I watched the 17 video that I posted, the audio was so terrible still. It was better than the old ones, but it was still bad. And I'm just like, why? Yeah, I'm surprised as to why the audio is so bad. And before I make my final couple of videos on this iMac about, using it, and then I was going to do the PC versus Mac video, but because the audio was so terrible on the first one, I wanted to do a quick comparison and see if, before we get to this kind of microphone situation, if there's a way to make the internal mic better. And this is not for making content or videos. This is more for people who are maybe doing Zoom meetings and stuff, and see if there's a difference if you can adjust the mic. And so, just to recap, this is apparently the older iMacs had the microphones on the bottom, according to this picture right here. And then it's 2012 through 2015, which these are all the ones that I tested in the other videos. The mic is here. It's actually behind camera. It seems like I've seen pictures of it. I think it's behind apparently the iMac Pro has a microphone right here. And then where is it? This. So the 2017 iMac, which is what I have now, the microphone is under. And I've tested this before. You can actually tap on the bottom of the screen. Like if I do this right now, you'll hear it. Almost like an iPhone, the mic's on the bottom. And I'm recording from that microphone at the moment. And what I hear, so I posted the video before actually really looking at it and hearing it. When you hear it back, there's so much echo. And so I have, if you can hear it, the iMac sits on an IKEA desk, and it's hard. And I think my voice is just bouncing off of the desk, and it's bouncing everywhere. There's no sound deadening material or anything. It's just, I thought it was okay. And I played it back on my phone, and I thought it was okay. And then I posted it. And then I watched it on a different device. I watched it on an iPad. And I was like, oh God, there's so much echo. It sounds terrible. I was almost just going to take the video down because it was just so bad. But, so before we post more videos, I want to try something. So I'm now recording this audio sitting down, standing straight in front of the computer. I'm about 23 to 24 inches away from the iMac. And it's late now and it's very quiet, so I'm sure you can hear me just fine, but there's probably a lot of echo. So I had a couple of tests to try. I'm going to try each one live, and then at the end, hopefully I can just edit this together and just do the live comparison. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the same sentence every time, and see what the difference is in volume and noise. So my first idea was, because the microphone is at the bottom and it's pointing down, and the computer is basically at maybe a 10% tilt. Obviously the solution would be to tilt it more so the microphone would be closer to you, but I don't think that's necessary. I mean, you would use the computer in an upright position. So here's the first test. So before we change anything, we're going to create the sentence. And we're going to say the same sentence every time, and then at the end, we'll cut it together. So the sentence that you will compare is this. And this is on the standard internal microphone from the 2017 21-inch iMac. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Now, my first idea, just actually came up with this one last, was to put a business card under the internal mic, which is on the bottom, with a curve. What I did was I curved the business card like this, so it's kind of like a scoop now, and I just taped it to the back part. And so now we'll do the same thing, and what that does is the audio will kind of come in here and be scooped up by the card and go straight into the microphone, and hopefully not bounce off of the desk. So now here's the test of the business card trick. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. So I don't know how that sounded, but I assume that quality was not better, but it probably was louder because it was capturing more volume. Okay, and then the second idea was, I have this little cardboard box, and what I'm doing is I'm just putting it, it turns out to be the correct size. What's the measurement? It's a 2-inch box. So what I'm doing is I'm sliding the 2-inch box under the microphone area. And so now as I talk, hopefully the cardboard kind of absorbs some of the bounciness. And I kind of tested this before. To me, it sounded better. I won't know until I listen to this back. But it's not louder, but it's kind of just not so echoey. So let's try this now. This is a 2-inch cardboard box directly placed under the microphone area in the center as sort of a dampener of sound. And we'll do the same thing. Cardboard box. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. So it's probably, it sounds better, but maybe it's less noisy. I mean, it probably sounds better, but it's probably quieter because the cardboard is kind of taking up some of the area where the sound would be. And that's all I was going to do. But then I found a little piece of foam. It's like maybe 1.5 inches. So it's less close to the microphone, because the cardboard box really only left just a little tiny gap of space for audio to get into. So this is much smaller. And here's an example. So it's just like this, like just a little piece of shipping foam. And because the cardboard box is kind of big and you don't really want a cardboard box under your computer. But yeah, that I was only going to do that. But then I thought, well, what if you just put just a little piece of foam or dampening material, or even, I don't know, bubble wrap or something. Just not a whole box, but just something to where the audio is not bouncing around so much. And I think that's the problem. It sounds okay, but I think it's the bouncing that's the problem. And so here's the foam placed underneath. It looks just like this. It's 1.5 inches. even an inf would probably be fine. And so now we're going to do the same statement. This is foam testing. Michael Jordan is the best player of all time. And I have not tested this before, so we'll see what that does. And then finally, I was recording this whole audio on my iPhone next to the iMac. And so I'm going to see if I can find a way to enter that together, and then we'll do all four. And I would suggest to you, if you are making videos where you're recording the screen like this, it wouldn't be a bad idea just to take your iPhone and just stick it by the computer, hit the voice recorder, and just have that as backup volume or recording. If you're gonna, in a Zoom case, that wouldn't matter, but in the case of making a video, you might want that as a backup recording. Also, one of the things I noticed, just so real quick before we get out of here, I didn't know this is a newer version of macOS than I'm used to, and we'll post that in the other video that we're working on next. I didn't know you could actually use the iPhone as a microphone for things like Zoom and stuff like that. When I came in to do this, it said, "Do you want to use the iPhone as a microphone?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So apparently that's the thing. Anyway, after this part, you'll see the clipped different versions. This is just a quick video. I'm just curious to see if there's a difference. If you can hear the difference, let me know. If you can't, let me know. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Michael Jordan is the best player of all time. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time.